Howdy there, Silver Mongoose, back with, yes, more Wii content. And I swear someday it's going to stop, but today is not that day. A couple of years ago, it all started when I did a collection, a video for the Wii, and I had about 125, 128 games, I think. I didn't do an exact count. And from that spawned the Year of Wii Challenge, and then from the Year of Wii Challenge, I think during the past couple of years I've always said, there's maybe one or two, at most 10 Wii games I really want to get. But then when I did the Year of Wii Challenge, I started looking into more games, and, I have a few more. Since doing that Wii Collection video 2 years ago, I found some games that I had in storage. I ended up buying some, and then, just doing research, or not research, but kind of like being involved in the world of Wii for, the better part of a year and a half has kind of exposed me to a lot new games. So I ended up buying 44 more Wii games, which puts me up to above 170 anyways. Someday I'll do an exact count, but, they're all over the place. So some of these I've actually played and have talked about during the past couple years, but a lot of them I haven't mentioned. So I figure I'm going to talk about the ones I haven't played first, and then go into the ones that I have played. And these were all kind of a mix of buying local and online and from people. A lot of these I ended up getting for, those things where it's like, buy 3 Wii games and you get the 4th one free sort of deal. And that's because a lot of people are trying to get rid of old Nintendo stuff. So let's get into it. Alright, so the first one here is Star Wars The Force Unleashed, where you play kind of this, I think he's Vader's apprentice that goes rogue. I'm not 100% familiar with the story, but I remember back in the day this was kind of a big deal among Star Wars fans, because as soon as the Wii came out, everyone thought, it's going to be cool to play with lightsabers. And I don't think it's like true one-to-one slashing, but you get to use the nunchuck as your force powers. It seemed interesting to pick up now. I wasn't interested in picking it up back in the day for a full, $60, but today, yeah, I will give it a shot for sure. The Sky Crawlers Innocent Aces, powered by Project Aces. This is the alternate cover. If you open it up, it's got one of these kind of double covers, this is probably more accurate to what the game is actually like. It is a primarily like a flight sim where you're involved in kind of dogfights. You play these characters that I think they're kind of raised from birth to basically fight in planes, and it has interesting controls where you use the nunchuck as kind of the flight stick, or maybe it's the Wiimote, but either way, you use the flight stick to kind of fly around like you would like a plane, and between the missions there's like anime-style cutscenes. There was a commenter, I think David E. Void, who mentioned this game. I hadn't heard of it before, so I ended up picking it up, and despite it being an Xseed published game, it's actually not that expensive. Udraw, Dude's Big Adventure, and Udraw Studio. This is basically just like a drawing app, and this is kind of an adventure-style game. Both of them use the Udraw tablet, which was a failed peripheral, where you essentially just put your Wiimote in there and it becomes like a rudimentary tablet. The only one really worth playing, in my opinion, is the SpongeBob one, which I'll talk about later. Lego Harry Potter, years 1 to 4, and years 5 to 7. I've always been interested in these because I felt like Lego and Harry Potter kind of went well together with the, they're both aimed at a younger audience, at least at first Harry Potter is. And, Lego kind of, you can like build Lego, and so like using your wand to build things kind of seemed to mesh, thematically. And I always kind of waited for these to go down in price, because I thought, they're kids games, they're Lego games, but they've kind of held their value over the years, so I just ended up getting them and taking the plunge. Cooking Mama World's Kitchen. This is the sequel to Cooking Mama, which, if you don't know anything about, you use motion controls to, stir pots and chop veggies and stuff. In this one, I think might be, yeah, it's kind of like a new look, and it might be more geared towards multiplayer or doing, you know, dishes from around the world, that sort of thing. Don't know much about it, honestly. Bring some more over here. Trauma Team. This is I guess the third and final game in the trilogy on Wii, the Trauma trilogy, I suppose. There's Trauma Center as well. And this one focuses on these doctors separately, who each have a speciality. So in the other Trauma games, you play like one or two doctors, and they kind of know how to do everything, you know. But in this one, I think you play like this guy's an orthopedic surgeon. So if you don't know this game, essentially, you're a doctor, you cut people up and sew them up and do surgery, and the multiplayer is actually a lot of fun. This one's multiplayer too. Spy Fox Dry Cereal. This is ages 6 and up, so definitely aimed at a younger audience. But this is an old like PC point-and-click adventure game with a really interesting art style. And I've always been interested in getting these. There's a few of them like Pajama Sam or Putt Putt. Those are probably the more popular ones. But I like point-and-click adventure games, and this one, despite the fact that it's, you know, aimed at 6+, I think is, you know, still charming. This one was only a couple dollars, but the other ones are more expensive, so that's the only one I'm going to have, at least for now. Heavenly Guardian. This is a game which I saw in, you know, GameStop for ages and ended up never buying it. It's kind of like I guess if I had to describe it, it's kind of like Pocky and Rocky, where it's like a twin-stick shooter, but you're a character and you run around, and it's hand-drawn. It kind of feels like a really good Flash game, you know. It's not amazing, but it's definitely unique, and it's one I've always wanted to get, and I just never bit the bullet previously. Tales of Symphonia, Dawn of the New World. This is the sequel to Tales of Symphonia on GameCube, and there's a few connections, like if you have a memory card with the GameCube game on it, I think you get some items or something in this game. As far as I can tell from the consensus from the Tales community is that they pretend this one doesn't exist. I don't think anybody really likes it. Sam & Max Season 1. I did own Season 2 already, but this is a point-and-click 3D adventure game. It's a port from an older PC game. Furu Furu Park. This was a D recommendation, I suppose, from... I think I saw a video of Majora T who was talking about this game and how it's not even worth like the $5 or whatever. I honestly just I liked the cover, and I like this little Furu Furu character, but it's a minigame collection, and it's not great. This one I'm probably going to get rid of eventually, but it was literally a couple dollars. And now we're getting into kind of some balance or marble games. Marble Saga Kororimpa. This is a sequel to, I believe the other one is just called Kororimpa. And it's, you know, a game where you control a little marble character around a world. You can use the balance board, which is one of the reasons why I got this. I was kind of interested in trying out a bunch of balance board things. The previous version, the original one, is much more expensive, so I don't have that one. Vertigo is obviously can tell it's like a lower budget version. It's very simple. You just play like a sphere and go around these worlds. You can use the balance board. Super Monkey Ball Step and Roll, similar deal. Go around multiple levels as a monkey in a ball, and you can use the balance board to do so. Shaun White Snowboarding World Stage and Shaun White Snowboarding Road Trip, both very affordable snowboarding games which have received generally positive reviews, aimed at a younger audience, but you can use the balance board, and they got decent reviews, and they're very cheap, so I ended up getting those. Dance Dance Revolution 2 and Dance Dance Revolution Hottest Party 3. And then I also have got the first Dance Dance Revolution, which I did talk about in another video. But yep, these are just Dance Dance Revolution games. Now I think I have 5 of them, which is all of them that I want, because there's, I think, a Winx Club one and a Disney one, both of which I have no interest in. I ended up getting a couple racing games to double my racing collection from 2 to 4. Need for Speed Nitro. This was recommended by Retro Break on YouTube. It was a great channel. He talked a little bit about a bunch of the Need for Speed games, I believe, on the Wii, and he said this one was his favorite. And I believe it's because it was built from the ground up for the Wii, whereas the other ones were ports. Yeah, it says here the first Need for Speed custom built for the Wii. So he made it sound really good, so I ended up picking that up. And the other one is Speed Racer, the video game, which has this kind of lenticular cover based on, I believe, the movie, which I don't know if anybody saw it or remembers it, but this is kind of like an F-Zero style game. It was also on the PS2, I believe, and it's got generally favorable reviews. So a lot of times when people talk about like hidden gems or whatever on the Wii, this one sometimes comes up. And yeah, ended up picking it up because I was looking for more racing games. This one is, well, it's for kids, because it's Kids Adventures Sky Captain. I didn't pay $13 for this, don't worry. But this looks like, essentially, if you've played Wii Sports Resorts, there is a mode where you can fly around Woohoo Island in a plane and like go through rings and stuff. And this seems like essentially what this is. It's super kid-friendly. Like, I think you can do dog fighting as well, but you might be shooting like water balloons at each other or something. You're like, yeah, aerial aces, target shooting, cow herding, finding pirate treasure. So it's very obviously aimed at kids, but it was only a few dollars, and I actually quite like how chill Wii Sports Resorts is in that sense. So when I got this, I was kind of thinking it'd be a nice thing to play kind of in the summer, but then I ended up just not getting around to it. Ghost Squad, a port of a classic, I believe, from the arcades. This is a rail shooter, and I just haven't gotten around to it. This might have been like really, really early in the Wii, like one of the first Wii games to come out. But yeah, rail shooters are great on the Wii because it's fun to use the pointer controls. Flip's Twisted World. This is a game which I don't know if I've ever actually seen anybody talk about, so I'm not sure how I found out about it, but it might have been actually from looking on Wikipedia and seeing that I think Tommy Tallarico might have done some music for this. A big might. But it's kind of like it's a platformer where you can essentially, well, flip the whole world. So it's, I guess, kind of like Mario Galaxy meets Fez in terms of the controls. But from what I played, it's well, it feels dated, I suppose I should say. Like, it kind of feels like a game that would have come out like on Windows 98, you know? Not graphically. Graphically, it's not great. But, you know, the controls are just a bit clunky. But the world, like the concept, is interesting enough that it might actually turn out to be pretty fun, or at least interesting to try out. Death Jr. Root of Evil. This was one that I was never really interested in because it looked kind of like a, I don't know, like a failed like cartoon that was kind of trying to be edgy sort of thing, like a, I don't know, it reminded me of kind of like Bill and Mandy or whatever that cartoon with death is. So, and the fact that it's called Junior, I don't know, it just didn't really seem appealing, but I remember watching a video with TV and Lust, and he enjoyed it, and or at least said it was interesting and worth trying out, so I ended up getting that. But yeah, it seems like an interesting little 3D platformer. You could play co-op, and I think, yeah, one character's a scythe, the other one has some guns, so it seemed interesting to play. TV and Lust was also Big into Spectrobes back in the day, maybe more the DS one than the Wii one, but yeah, it's a 3D adventure game where I guess you find like fossils and kind of turn them into like little, basically like Pokemon characters that you can bring around, and you have a sword. It's definitely, well, it's a Disney game, so it's I'm not sure if they were trying to start like a franchise or something, but yeah, it seemed interesting, and I don't know. I usually check out anything that a few people on YouTube mention. TV and Lust is one of them because he has interesting tastes, and I respect his opinion on games. Mini Ninjas. I think this came out on basically everything. And the reason I ended up getting it is because there was a game called iNinja back on the GameCube, and I don't think this is any relation to it at all. But I remember liking that game, and I don't know, it seemed kind of like a fun little like, I don't know, early 2000s style platformer where you can play one of these three characters. So now I have 15 games, which I did play a decent amount of. Some of these I talked about in my update videos, so if there was one you're particularly interested in hearing a little bit more of, I can point you towards that video if you just let me know. But I'm just going to talk for, a little bit about each of these games. So Rooms, the main building. This is a sliding puzzle game, so you have these little rooms where you slide the rooms around, and they'll have things like a phone booth which can teleport you, or ladders you have to climb, or doors to go through. So, yeah, it's also on the DS, and in a way, you think it would be better for the DS because it has kind of, the sliding puzzle mechanic seems like it'd be fun to do on a DS. But you do need to see some decent detail, so the Wii version might be better in that sense. I'm not sure. It feels like a portable game, but you need to be able to see to do well and enjoy it, I think. The Munchables. This is a game which I waited for years for this game to go down in price, and it never did, so I ended up finally biting the bullet and getting it. It is similar to Shark, where you're like a little character, so you eat little characters and get slightly bigger so you can eat even bigger characters. So the goal is to basically just keep eating until you're big enough to defeat the boss at the end of the level. It's very cutesy, has eclectic music, fun puzzles, a great game, definitely worth the price of admission. And it seems, yeah, it's just, I don't know how this one kind of slipped under the radar, but if you look at a lot of hidden gem videos, this one is like regularly on it, and this one I think deserves to be on it for sure. The Lord of the Rings, Aragorn's Quest. This one is a very plain graphic, chunky, kind of cutesy reimagining of the Lord of the Rings story, half told through Aragorn's like perspective, but then also it's being told through a story that Sam is telling to his kids. So if you want, you can just focus kind of on the Aragorn stuff and go around and slash and do that kind of stuff. Or you can kind of play around in the Shire, but you don't have to really spend that much time in the Shire if you don't want to. I enjoyed this. I didn't finish it, but I ended up enjoying what I played. It's simple, but there's something kind of wholesome about it. Super Swing Golf Season 2. This one I didn't talk about in my videos, despite the fact that I played probably 4 or 5 hours of it, and that's because I played it on my birthday, and let's say I wasn't entirely sound of mind that day, so I don't remember a lot of this game, but there is one that was, I believe, a launch title in Japan, Super Swing Golf. But from what I read, this one is basically better in every way. It's based on a Korean online golf game called Pangya. It is motion control, but it does have like lots of like Tecmo characters, and like there's I think is it the Furu Park character? Maybe. So yeah, it's from what the little I played, I remember the controls not being great, but like I mentioned earlier, that might have just been me. Mario Sports Mix. Do you know this existed? Because I don't know anyone else who does. It is a mix of 4 sports games. Dodgeball, volleyball, hockey, and basketball. There's lots of different control schemes, but it would have been really nice to have some sort of classic controller or GameCube support. Not because the motion controls don't work well, but this style of game, you end up using the motion controls a lot, and it's just physically it's not great for me. But all the games kind of try to play similarly. I think they're interesting. There's definitely like not enough content for each of these to be its full game. You know, like if they'd released Mario Volleyball, it would have totally tanked. But as a collection, I think it's a lot of fun. The hockey and the volleyball are probably the most fun, and they have lots of like random, elements and levels. Like you can play in Koopa Beach, so like the tide will come in or waves will come in and like drop off like shells or items on the volleyball court, that sort of stuff. So it's definitely not like the best Mario game. It's not Mario Kart or anything like that. But as far as Mario sports games go, I really enjoyed this, and I enjoy it, I think, more than most of the other ones I played. Like Mario Baseball on the Wii, I had, and I think I still have somewhere, but going to be getting rid of it because I just really didn't enjoy it. Wii Play Motion, the sequel to Wii Play. This was a game that was sold with the Wiimote, which is why a lot of people end up getting it, or the Wii Motion Plus, actually. This requires Wii Motion Plus. And it's just, again, it's a minigame collection that kind of demonstrates the power of Wii Motion Plus, which is required. And about half the games are great, the other half aren't great. The controls work well. I think it's worth getting. It's one of those games that you kind of like, bust out every few years and play through each of the games a few times and then put down. I enjoy it. Tetris Party Deluxe. This has, compatible with Wii Speak for some reason. And the balance board and the Wii wheel. Like, this is all sorts of crazy modes where people are all working on one board, or you're like racing to fit a block through like a maze or a hallway. All sorts of great puzzle games. This is a really awesome version of Tetris. And of course it has standard Tetris in there as well. Wii Party. This game I swear I had for years, but it turns out I never did. And I enjoy this more than the Mario parties on the Wii. There's just more interesting modes and games. And like there's ones where, there's noises coming out of the Wiimote. There's a time bomb where you have to pass it around. There's a fun game where you are kind of climbing a mountain to get to the top, and then you have to play mini games or you get knocked down. And this one's actually kind of pricey. I'm not sure if it's worth the price of admission, but I am glad that I got it, and I think it's a fun game. I'm gonna be playing this one for years for sure. Exorbeat is a game that I didn't know existed until before this Year of Wii Challenge. You can use the balance board to do dance moves, or you can use 1 or 2 Wiimotes to do all sorts of basically exercises. Most of it is like dancing or karate, aerobics, yoga, that sort of thing. There's a couple mini games. I ended up enjoying this. I think I ended up using this like a few times a week for a few months, which is, as far as exercise programs go, pretty good. Obscure, the Aftermath. It's also called Obscure 2 on other systems. This is a survival horror game. You can barely see what's going on in the back, but you play some students at a college where stuff starts to go bad. So you have to, get weapons and shoot monsters and solve puzzles, that sort of stuff. But you play multiple characters, and they each have different abilities. Like one guy, can jump really high or something, and the other person is good at investigating, that sort of stuff. And what's really good about it is that you can play multiplayer, like drop-in, drop-out co-op, I believe, so that's a lot of fun. Single player, not great. Multiplayer, I enjoyed it. Dawn of Discovery is a city building and management game. It's like a spin-off of other Anno games, I believe they're called, in other countries, which is a long-running series, but I really enjoyed this. It's cutesy. You can zoom in and like look at the characters. You have to take care of them by like, you know, making sure that you have pest control and you're giving them bathhouses and places to learn. It's got a pretty like robust story, which is essentially a super long tutorial, and good controls. This one was a lot of fun. I was surprised at how much I really enjoyed this, and also I hadn't heard of it before. SpongeBob SquigglePants. It is essentially SpongeBob as WarioWare. So you're playing micro games, and you're using the U-Draw pad to, you know, move stuff around and tilt and draw. A lot of fun, actually. Solid game. Rune Factory, Tides of Destiny. I was wanting to do some farming, and there's very little farming in this. I played for a few hours, maybe 4, 5, and barely did any farming, if any. It's more about, like, I don't know, exploring the ocean on, like, this big golem creature. It wasn't doing it for me, so I ended up putting it down. Monster Lab. Great cover. Ignored it for years in GameStop because it looks really lame. But you are essentially a Dr. Frankenstein character who builds these creatures, and you do one-on-one fights with each other and try to like blow off their limbs and stuff, and then you can take their limbs and build your monster. Not a AAA title for sure, but I think that I think it's interesting enough that I do want to go back next Halloween and play it. And last, but certainly not least, is Mystery Case Files, the Malgrave Incident, which is like an I Spy, find the hidden item sort of game. So there's these sections where you are looking for items, like, oh, find the pitchfork and find the glass bottle, that sort of thing. And then other areas where you're kind of walking around an island trying to solve mysteries and getting items to further you through the island. And I can see how that would sound like a cash-in game, you know, just kind of standard shovelware for the Wii, but I don't know, there's just something about it that I really enjoyed and kept me wanting to go back and play more. You know, probably my biggest complaint about it is that it doesn't have enough varied music. There's like maybe 1 or 2 songs that plays during the I Spy sessions, but man, overall, just, I don't know, there's something that clicked with me with this game, you know? It's definitely not a AAA game. It's definitely not one I'd recommend to people, or to everybody, I would say, but I would recommend at least looking up some videos to see if it if it tickles your fancy. For me, I don't know, it just really struck a chord and really got me wanting to go back and play more. Okay, so there's 44 more physical Wii games that I have added to my library. Some of these, like Fudu Fudu Park, I might end up getting rid of after I play a little bit more and decide whether or not I want to keep it. But the majority of these I'm quite happy to have in my library. And I can honestly say that I'm basically done collecting for the Wii. There's a few games that I would still love, for example, like Dokapon Kingdom, but that's $250, or the first Kororimpa, but you know, that one's up in price a little bit, and it's just not worth the money that it's going for right now. So if I do end up getting more Wii games, it's probably going to be just by chance and in the distant future. So this is it. With the exception of one thing, I realized as I was doing my Year of Wii videos that I never talked about my digital games. So I will be doing one more Wii Collection video on my digital games, so look forward to that. So I hope you enjoyed that video. Maybe you learned about a new game you've never heard of before, or you were reminded of a game that you wanted to get 10 years ago and just completely forgot about. Either way, thanks for watching. This has been Silver Mongoose Videos, and remember, classic gaming never gets old.